Aha, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. That's not very good. Bosh there, we'll do that. How are you? I hope the sound's all right, because I'm having a nightmare with this fancy microphone that I bought. It's a Shure one, and it's a piece of shite. Or it is if you're a bootneck and you're a bit of a boomer with technology. It's still my head in. I can't get the audio to sound good. And that's weird, isn't it? And I have absolutely not a Scooby-Doo what a preamp is, or a cloud mixer, or any of that shite. So hopefully it's all right. I've been pissing around with it for an hour. Anyway, it is what it is. Welcome to the BBC Spews. Hang on, where's my overlay gone? It's in here somewhere. Boys, there it is. Easy. Easy. How's everyone doing? Again, we're a bit limited on the BBC these days because apparently the psychopaths that run the BBC genuinely believe people would be willing to pay to view the BBC. Really? Yeah. Imagine paying to view the BBC. I'd pay. It's like paying to get your granny surprise sexed by a gang of dinghy divers. I'm not paying for the BBC, no. So we're a little bit hamstrung by what we can and we can't watch. Who's in anyway? Let's have a quick look. Council State Ridge in now then, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Jay, 2023, alright, how you doing? Bantam's fan. Hey, that's a story we can talk about, the football. That's interesting, isn't it? What happened to the periodic opening? You know what's happened to the periodic opening? YouTube's shite, as we all know. And if you put a periodic opening on, no matter what you play, they say, oh yeah, it's copyrighted, that song. Everything I've tried, even songs like Rule Britannia, it's like, what, is there some record mogul scooping up the profits from it? I don't understand how it works. I don't understand how they can just rob you blind, and you're not allowed to put anything on the internet or they'll just steal all your revenue. So that's a bit weird. Again, it's YouTube. It's been a pain up the arse since we started, hasn't it? That I don't like that thing covering my head. I think that's a bit big, isn't it? What about that one? That's better. Bootneck reading the news. That's a bit more subtle, isn't it? So yeah, that's why the periodic opening's gone. Because wankers won't let you. Lip syncing's off. Seems all right here. That was a problem as well. First week I got this apparently good new camera, but it looks like it's working all right to me. I've ordered another cable as well. I can't believe in 2025 they still make it difficult to set this shit up. If you want to buy a cheap nasty one, it's pretty easy. I was using a $80 microphone for the last 5 years. And then I bought a fancy one that everyone was like, oh, that's a good mic, and it's like $500 worth. And you've got to plug all sorts of shite in there. They don't just make a really good USB microphone for some reason. I have no idea why. And the camera was 150, and apparently that's supposed to be good. I think the screen quality is better, but yeah, it's like there's a weird little delay. A millisecond one. It seems like it works all right live, I think, but when you're doing pre-recorded ones, the longer the video lasts, the more slightly out of sync they get. It's probably off by 1 frame or something. So yeah, I'm having technical issues. I'll try and sort them out this weekend. There's a few good stories to cover though, not all of them on the BBC, because again, BBC's being wankers. One that did take my, well, obviously we'll talk about the football one, because that's an interesting story. There's a really good one from Yorkshire Live, because obviously, as I said, there's no point in doing a Crime Watch video, because there's that much criminality going on, thanks to the guests that never leave. That's weird, isn't it? Kind of strange calling them a guest when they never go home. But there's so many stories now, like this one, for example. Every time you click a news story on X now, it's some foreign bloke, Roger in a native kit. It's unbelievable. This one is, obviously there he is. Look, yeah, nice English gentleman. Bradford barber. At least he's in Bradford. If we could quarantine all of the diddlers in one city, it wouldn't be so bad, would it? Bradford barber, jailed for 9 years. Again, why only 9 years? Does anybody think that pinning down a child and giving him a good seeing to against his will should result in a 4-year jail sentence, because that's what all these people are getting. It's unbelievable. I just don't understand it. And again, stop calling them guests. They stay forever and they don't pay any taxes. They are scruffy, thieving degenerates, and there's nothing good comes out of them moving to the UK. I cannot believe that what's gone on has happened with such overwhelming public dissatisfaction. As I've said before, right, people think I'm being hyperbolic when I pull these numbers out my arse. When Cameron won the election, everyone was sick of mass immigration. Tony Blair and Mandelson purposely brought in a few million blokes. So when Cameron was running to be the PM, one of the biggest issues that everyone was talking about was mass immigration. People were against it in 2012. And look what we've done. I cannot believe people aren't more outraged about it. The general public really do need to sort their lives out. How are Labour MPs still winning elections? How aren't they getting accosted by mobs at the town halls? Every single day there's a story like this where there's just children, women, everyone's getting attacked by these people, and no one seems to care. It's the Brighton Beach one I made a video about this morning. I mean, I'll briefly cover it because if you're watching this, you're not watching that. But again, it's more of the same. 3 asylum seekers. How are you an asylum seeker from Egypt? It's preposterous on the face of it. Do you know what I mean? They're from Egypt. There's people going on holiday to Egypt. All the people that we started bringing in are all going home on little vacations. They get the free council house and the taxpayer-funded paychecks and the free meals and the free clothes and the Nike Air Max, and then they fly straight home to Kabul to visit their relatives. If the Taliban were actually out after you, they'd be waiting for you at the airport, wouldn't they? It's a preposterous state of affairs. So again, it never ends. I could throw individual stories up all day long just from the week, but there's dozens of them. Dozens of them. And the government, as you saw in this story, is not interested in stopping it. The relatives can claim benefits immediately and they don't need to speak English. And none of the people from countries that are supposed to be they're at war with anyone. Egypt's one of the biggest tourist destinations in the world. I mean, let's have it said. If you go to Egypt on holiday, you are a maniac. Like, why the... Honestly, I'm not even taking the piss. If I got offered a free holiday with flights and an all-inclusive hotel in Egypt, I wouldn't go. People really need to stop being grasping bastards and taking the money. I wouldn't go. You need to give these people a wide berth. It's unbelievable. Anyway, should we do the Maccabi Tel Aviv thing? Because, again, you all know where I stand on this issue. As far as I'm concerned, the UK will be a better place if all of the overly enthusiastic followers of the desert god from foreign climes, i.e. the 4B2s and the Puma Trackies, stopped coming altogether, and about 5 million of them got deported. What do we get out of it? Anyone old enough to remember the 1980s and the 1990s and the 1970s and the 1960s, they're starting to die out. Anyone who can remember what 1995 was like compared to 2025 should be tearing their hair out, going, what are we doing? What are we doing? What's the plan? It's absolutely shite. And the problem with this is, right, and again, I know loads of you in the chat there are going to be like, oh yeah, well, who cares about the 4B2s as well? But the problem I'm getting at is, it's not that I'm trying to take sides on this issue. I think, as I've said, I think the real problem out of those two is definitely, if I have to pick a side, I'll hold my nose and go with the 4B2s. There isn't, neither of them have the best interests of the English people at heart. But the death toll speaks for itself in England. I mean, you don't see blokes with curly sideys and daft hats on going into little girls' school and knifing them in the face. So I'd suggest dealing with that problem first. But the real issue here is, of course it's going to kick off if they let it happen. But you are basically doing the kowtowing to the bully if you don't fix the problem. Right? Everyone said, oh, yeah, we had to do it because it would kick off if we don't. They're saying that because they want to pander to the regulars at the snack bar. When did we let the bullies win? Everyone goes, oh, you always have to stand up to a bully. The police chief should have said, listen, right, we don't allow savages, pot-bellied savages from the third world to dictate the movement of peoples in England. We're going to pull in coppers from every single surrounding force. We're going to have 10,000 of them there. And anyone who throws a bottle or assaults or attacks anyone physically, accosts anyone, is getting nicked. And if we have to fill the cells and fill the jails and bring out the riot shields and the tear gas, we're going to do it. That's what you do. I'm sick and tired of this. It's like when you get 25 Puma trackies on Tommy Robinson's front lawn. Oh no, I use his real name there. They arrest him because they go, oh, we don't want to cause any hassle. This is cowardice of the worst kind. Crush the trouble causers is what you do. It's one of the things that used to annoy me in the military when they used to do broad brush punishments. When I went to Sierra Leone, we were coming back. We got a few nights off in Portugal, some R&R. And then on our first night out in Porto, some bloke knocks a geezer out in a club and then twats a bouncer and gets arrested. And then we get our Charlie, took off us for the rest of the weekend. And it was the one thing that we used to annoy me more than anything else. I was argumentative in the military, so I was always in trouble, arguing with the officers about it. I was like, are you guys brain dead? Broad brush punishment used to be a thing in the 50s because it used to be like on Full Metal Jacket. You'd all go and get round the bloke who messed it up for everyone and you fill him in. And it used to work because the lads had policed them. And I had this out with my true boss. I was like, but you know for a fact that if we go and dust up the bloke who filled in a few people and got arrested, we'll all end up on a charge. And it happened when I was out in Afghanistan, and the Sergeant Major, being a little weasel, took the easy way out of just slamming the blokes who dished the beats out. There was a bloke who was Jack, who nobody liked, who was skipping on work and stitching up his opwos. So 2 of them filled him in, and the Sergeant Major threw the book at them as aggressively as he could. He basically got them arrested. He even sort of did a public humiliation and took the berets off them when they were getting in the back of the van, I guess, to go home, straight to the airport. He was like, oh, you haven't got the right to earn a green beret with your behaviour. It's like, what, doing the behaviour that you promoted for 50 years? If you've got a lad who's a wanker, you fill him in. So this is what we keep doing now. We punish the people who should be looked after, and we stitch up the people and we help the wrongdoers. The idea that we should be held hostage by a massive gang of snack bar regulars is preposterous to me. John Platt gifted someone a Bootneck membership. Get in. Grab it while it's hot. Thanks for that, John. Making more important people in the chat for me and helping keep my nemesis off my plums. It's not Suzar anymore. Thankfully, we won that argument, but Neil's in charge now, and he's a bit of a wanker as well, though, isn't it? It is happening. It definitely is, but that's what I'm saying. If we didn't have cowards in charge, we crush them. And again, your argument, I'm sorry to say, there's a few of you saying it's a lose-lose situation, and we had to do it because they're kicking off. Your argument's a poor one that falls down, doesn't it? Because Starmer, sorry, I'll give you a clip, seeing as, it's a slow day. Keir Starmer
Gay!
has already shown us what he can do when he loses his rag, because when a murdering, psychopathic, imported piece of shit human slime like Axel Rudu Kanubu, who you fed, clothed and housed for the entirety of his life, when he killed a load of little girls and everybody got angry about it, They quickly curtailed those riots and all that public disorder by smashing the general public. And there was tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people on the streets then. But they smashed the general public. Gas them, beat them, lock them up, remand them, jail them. 20 people in the first 6 hours were remanded and then given custodial sentences over 12 months, weren't they? None of them were getting let out. When the government, again, people don't pay attention. When the government wants to smash people, they will crush them. If a right-wing patriot rally said, oh, we're banning all of the 4x2s from the town square on Saturday because we're having a rally, they would crush them utterly. If there was 50 of them, if there was 50,000 patriots having a rally in Manchester town centre and they said, on Saturday there's going to be 50,000 of us, so we're not letting any 4x2s in, they would send 20,000 coppers and they would knock 10 bells of shite out of them. That's what had happened. So ultimately, it's bollocks, isn't it? The idea that it's a lose-lose situation and we can't fix it. If the government had the passion to do it, they'd do it. They'd crush them. There's enough coppers. There's enough soldiers. It's total bollocks. Yeah, that's a good point. This is the world we live in now. We reward the cowards. And when the natives kick off, doesn't matter how many of them there are. Think of that. Think of that. If all the people that get demonised by the state, like Steve Laws and all them types, the mega right-wingers, if they tried to hold a rally, doesn't matter how many of them there was, if there was 200,000 of them and they said, we're banning the 4x2s, the 4x2s would be going. And the state would crush them utterly. They'd use Army, Air Force, Navy, coppers, TA, whatever. They'd get it done. But because the tail is wagging the dog and our masters are now the regulars at the snack bar, and you know this is true, you guys might be on, deluding yourselves. They're in charge now. Enoch famously said that they'd have the whip hand, and they have got the whip hand, right? They kill your children, and the next day all the ministers are like, oh, I'm really worried about the snack bar. Think of that. They blow up women and children, and the next day the government says, you know what the most important thing is? Oh, we don't upset any of the regulars at the snack bar. It's preposterous. So the idea that we had to do this to keep the peace is preposterous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, and Slim's just pointing out there, miners' strike. It's a good point. How many thousands of them were out protesting? They just twatted them. But here, because it's Alan's lads, they've banned them and they've tried to dress it up as, oh, we're just doing this to keep the peace. Yeah, no, that's a lie. It's a lie. If you and your mates were doing it, they'd just knock 10 bells of shite out of you. So don't tell me it's because there's too many of them. It's ridiculous. Richie Mason, cheers, Keir Starmer's. Yeah, well, we know that. That's a given, innit? It's a ridiculous state of affairs. I think it's painfully obvious to everybody who's got the whip band at the moment. And it's the guests from the snack bar. So there's one rule for you and there's another rule for them. Look, discussions are happening at pace. They always use the sort of politician newspeak as well, don't they? To resolve the fans being banned. Calls are growing for a review. West Midlands has requested an immediate reassessment and the PM says it's the wrong decision. So it's in flux, isn't it? And you know why it's in flux? This is why we've got to talk at pace. It's all in flux. Because the two people having the disagreement are both foreign to the UK. If they just said, we're banning all of the white men from England, no problem with that. If they say we're going to stab a few white men's kids in the face, no problem with that. But because they're saying the regulars at the snack bar rule Birmingham with an iron fist, and we're not letting in, and the government's like, gingers? No, not gingers. That's fine. Blonde fellas from Leeds? No. Oh, well, that's fine. 4x2s. Whoa, yeah, hang on. We have to reassess this. It's just proving what I'm telling you. It's the whip hand is in the hand of everyone who isn't a native of the Isles That's just the way of it. And if you think otherwise, like I said, you're not paying attention. Hang on, sorry, I got another super chat here. I'm trying to make this mic a bit close because people are still complaining about the sound. I'd love to get your thoughts on Starmer and the handshake during Trump's speech. Haven't stopped watching it. Oh, yeah, well, if anyone missed that, I don't think that's particularly interesting, really, is it? Because everybody knows that politics is a dirty game and you have to sort of, you have to play the game. So Trump's always polite to Starmer in public, but him and Vance pay attention, and they know he's a slimy, self-serving, androgynous android weasel. You know for a fact Trump hates Keir Starmer, so I do think he purposely humiliated him, didn't he, on that video? I'm sure you've all seen it. I'll quickly throw it up on Twitter, seeing as you asked. Here it is. Doink. I've lost account of how many times Trump has humiliated Starmer this year, but this is by far the best. After listing a multitude of countries, the only person he invites to the podium is Starmer, and then brushes him off and sends him packing. Brutal. Yeah, it's good.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's our friend? Where? Come here. Is everything going good? Very good. That's very nice of you here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice. And I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others. And United...
It is good as well, isn't it? Like, he's basically... Because that's a backhanded... That's a political move, isn't it? It's a backhanded compliment. He's basically saying, oh, these people all came at like 20 minutes notice. What he's saying there is they haven't been involved with any of this process. None. They're just riding on Trumpy Bear's coattails, aren't they? Like, that is what he did there. You've got to try and be aware of these nuanced political slights, because you can't just do what I do and just outright go and tell you, go, he's a wanker, isn't he? Like, and I do it because I'm not a politician. Trump is cleverer than he looks, and what he's doing there is purposely slighting Keir Starmer, and he's pointing out that he didn't do anything. He had no role to play in it. If he did, he'd have brought him up and shook his hand and said, oh, he's been here all week with me, really having those hard conversations, trying to work for peace. And he went, no, they all just turned up in the last 20 minutes. Thanks for that. You know, it's a barbed comment, because they're all a bunch of self-serving shitbags. So that's what that was. There's my thoughts on that. Brilliant. And, yeah, have it, you horrible androgynous android. Back to the football. So the point I'm getting at is, now the PM's involved. The PM's involved. If this was like any other groups, the PM wouldn't get involved, would he? It's because the two groups that hold the whip hand are the ones fighting it out, as usual. But as usual, it's detrimental to the United Kingdom, and it shouldn't be, and there's no need for us to be dealing with this trash, right? We've imported foreign problems. When you've got Hindu versus snack bar in the middle of Leicester, how can anyone with a straight face tell me that this wonderful experiment has been a grand success? And again, those of you that pay attention know that Merkel herself said it's a failure 15 years ago. She said it has failed. And then, I guess because they're working for other masters, imported another 20 million anyway. Think of that. She went on TV and said, it's failed. We have third generation Germans who can't speak German. It's a failure. And then they went, oh, well, we'll just have 20 million more. Think. Like, clearly they aren't working for the people of Europe, are they? That's a good name for it. I'll start calling it that. I think I like that almost as much as Brad Alabad. Sydney, John Terry Starmer. I don't fully understand that reference, other than John Terry was... My mate filled John Terry in like Ibiza or somewhere. This is when we were kids, and John Terry wasn't even famous. I think when I was about 20, he tells me this story. He says, oh, I knocked the shite out of. Have you ever heard of a young footballer called John Terry? I was like, no, I've never heard of him. He was like, oh, I had to give him a good shoeing on the beach in Barbados or wherever the hell they were. And, yeah. Oh, is that what it is? Claiming the glory? Yeah, I don't know. I certainly don't follow enough football to know somewhat oblique references. I don't even watch England anymore. I told you. The only team I follow now is Middlesbrough. And I mean, I'm less interested in that because they were taking the knee all year. I follow the Borough because if you're from Middlesbrough, you have to. It's like the only game in town in the northeast. But yeah, I don't even care about England now. I don't even watch them. I don't cheer for them. I've got nothing in common with these people. What do I care if a bloke called Bukaki Saki scores a goal? It's just 10 foreigners and I know the English goalie. I'm not interested in watching it. So yeah, it's the only thing I watch. Sweden. It's not just Sweden, Rach. It's not just Sweden. It's all of them. Told you, Europe's done. Europe's done. I can't believe the general public have just accepted it, just rolled over and took it up the shit box. Trump loves Americans. Starmer hates things. Of course he does. Yeah, 100%. Starmer is overtly hostile. Again, it's this. If you're a globalist, that's your ideology. As I said to you, it's not even new. It's boring. If you know what you're doing and you pay attention, it's boring. We knew this was going to happen 25 years ago because this is what their ideology does. Again, I'm sick of talking about Solzhenitsyn's famous quote, "You can't have a knife, but the criminal can." They've always done this. When you believe in this weird communist ideology, you think that anybody who's a career criminal is a product of the state. It's not his fault he's a diddler. It's not the Egyptian's fault he rogered the 10-year-old. It's not the Puma tracky's fault that he tonked 12 10-year-olds above his kebab shop. It's the state's fault. This is what they believe. And that's why it makes sense that they have a two-tier justice system, isn't it? Because in their eyes, if you've got a tan and you originally hailed from a third world shithole, well, it's not their fault. It's colonialism that did that. If you'd have just left them to it, their country would be a paradise, a civilized paradise, yeah. Total gibberish. And anybody with a room temperature IQ or above knows it's total gibberish. The world was a backwards, savage place until the Enlightenment, and the Europeans, building on the roots of democracy started by the Greeks and the Romans and other civilizations that we can aptly call a civilization, somehow came up with a system that was very genteel and civilized for human beings, because we're evolved primates and we don't like each other very much. We're inherently tribal and warlike. And it's all gone backwards because these lunatics have desperately tried to convince themselves and you that everything is equal. Yeah, a Zulu playing a didgeridoo is as civilized and as culturally intelligent and nuanced as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart on his harpsichord. It's bollocks. It's bollocks. I will not be lectured about this by ignorant communist ideologues who make out as if a civilization that hadn't come up with jack shit is somehow as pioneering as, I don't know, as worth listening to as John Locke or David Hume or, I don't know, Michael Faraday or Isaac Newton. It's bollocks. Oh, yeah, well, if Ungu Bungu Bungu Dungu was, in the same place as Isaac Newton, he'd be just as intelligent. No, but he wouldn't though, would he? And the reason he's not in the same place is because his people didn't do anything. We all started out with nout. England 2,000 years ago was just fields and little tiny bothies and shitty little villages. They didn't have grand institutions. We got to them through lots of effort from our forebears and great thinkers and great movers and shakers. We started in the exact same place as the Zulus and the Native Americans, but somehow geography does play a role, and trade links and weather, and there's a lot of other things, and nutrition makes your brain develop better. But we all started out in the same place. I'm not getting told by anyone. For example, you hear it a lot in the States, that the Native Americans, I wish I was a Native American, me. Oh, I'm half Cherokee. Some of these idiots out here, wish they were Cherokee. It's, oh, I wish I was from a good culture like Cherokee. You know what I mean? You get your boring, self-loathing, brainwashed American lass who's like European. You know, her ancestors are like Scottish or Irish and English. And they go, oh, I wish I was Native American. Oh, Mr. Professor Fox in Moonlight shitting on a tree. Professor shitting on a tree. I wish I was civilized like you Native Americans. What did they do? What did they do? Nout. For 10,000 years, they didn't do shit. Yeah, they devolved to their own little area, so they were good at hunting. But they did nout. The thinkers, the movers and shakers, the great men come from Europe and they build a civilization that's going to last. And I'm not going to take lectures off a Zulu warrior or an Aborigine with a didgeridoo or a bloke who thinks, you know, because he's named after the flora and fauna, that he's somehow equal to Edmund Halley, who predicted a comet turning up 73 years in the future. It's a crazy state of affairs. The world's gone mad, and these people are brain dead, and they don't know anything, and they don't know any history, and they haven't got a Scooby-Doo. So why are we letting them run the country? Anyone wanna solve that grand mystery for me? Bit weird, isn't it? Anyway, I went on a bit of a rant there. This is bollocks. West Midlands Police supported the decision because they're cowards. And obviously the 4B2 said it was perverse and shameful, and now they're going to have a massive argument about it because, again, there is no easy solution, right? This is why now even the PM's getting involved. Oh my God, talks are happening at pace. Talks happening at pace. He has to be using the newspeak at pace because this is an unfixable problem because you can only have one master. And when the masters are in direct opposition with each other, how do you fix the problem? That's what I'm saying. If all of the 4B2, if the regulars at the snack bar or the 4B2s just said, we're banning all the gingers, we're not letting them in anywhere, they can't come in the Bell End churches, they can't come in the synagogues, they can't come in, we're banning them all, then that'd be fine. But the thing is, the people arguing are arguing with each other. So it's an unfixable problem, isn't it? Because you can't both have the whip band. Bottom rung is you and yours and your kids and grandkids. You're the very, very bottom rung, the native inhabitants of the British Isles. So you need to have someone who has the whip band. And they've got 2 whips in one hand. Well, 3 or 4 or 5 whips in one hand, haven't they? And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a revelation only if you're a plank. The whip hand now has got the LGBT whip, the snack bar whip, the 4B2 whip, the people of colour whip, the African whip, the Windrush whip. In fact, you'd have to split the LGBT up because all them don't get on very well, do they? There's the Sikh whip and the Hindi whip and the anything that's not British Isles, and every single one of them's got a whip. So how do you decide who's in charge? This is the problem. You can't, too many cooks spoil the broth. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. You can't have everyone in charge. Again, old adages make sense, don't they? So this is why it's all going tits up. You can't have everyone in charge. If everyone's in charge, no one's in charge. They've decided who's on the bottom rung, and that's the native inhabitants of the British Isles. But so it's all nice and easy if a bloke from the West Indies is playing the race card against a ginger bloke from Aberdeen, and it's all well and good if an LGBTQ plus AI is having a pop and playing the victim with, you know, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed fella from Yorkshire. But it all goes Pete Tong when those people are having a conflict. 4B2s is us. That's it's the Curly Sideboards Funny Hat Brigade, because obviously it's Cockney rhyme and slang. 4B2s. Easy, right? I use a lot of Cockney rhyme and slang on this channel because if you basically say any of the words from the protected classes in the United Kingdom, of which the 4B2s are one, then you get into shit, don't you? That's the way it is. So this is an unfixable problem. They can talk about having talks at pace all they want, but they're turning themselves in knots. And I've told you this loads of times. They're always going to do this because when you're a rat politician, you have to do what they did in the old days and make a hard decision. So like the Bengal famine they all go on about all the time, Churchill there was like between a rock and a hard place, right? So he went, okay, we feed the army or we feed people in Bengal. I guess we're feeding the army then. Cheers. And then they all starved to death. Not entirely his fault. This is all lies spread by the lunatics in India because we were at war and the Japanese were blockading the Bay of Bengal and it was a war. So he had to make a hard decision. What the current Labour government would do and what the current modern politician would do is refuse to make a hard decision. And they'd go, oh, what we'll do is we'll give one individual grain of rice to like 3 billion people. They'll sort the problem and then everyone starves to death. You see what I'm saying? If you don't pick a position and stick to it, that's worse than making no decision at all. Because trying to please everyone is making no decision at all. It's an old military adage, everybody knows this. If you get indecisive on the battlefield, you're a dead man. A quick, decisive action on the battlefield is better than nothing. Indecision. That's the killer. If you're getting shot at by 3 different positions and you stand in the middle of the battlefield going, but maybe we could do that, but no, but that wouldn't work. Oh, no, maybe we could do that, but that wouldn't work. Oh, but we could do that, but no, what you do is you go, pop smoke, we're going that way, and we're going to clear that compound, we're going to kill everyone in it, and then we'll see what happens when we've got some cover. You just pick one of the 3. They're all bad decisions, they're all dug in, they're all defended positions. Pick one, get into it, do some stabby grabby. Right, that's what you do. And then you make a decision. Our scumbag politicians do this. They won't make a decision. So this problem is not possible to fix. Because on one hand, they want to cave and let the muzzies do whatever they want. And on the other hand, they want to let the 4B2s do whatever they want. So you can't fix this problem. And again, how many times have normal, civilized people made this point? For the last 25 years. Thinking that you can have like the LGBTQ plus AI community being best pals with very, very, very devout snack bar boys. I mean, are you mentally ill? What do they think is going to happen? And it's why, if you're not indoctrinated into it, you can see the ideology doesn't make sense. The LGBTQ plus AI community will never be best pals, kumbayaing around the campfire with the snack bars and the 4B2s and the Sikhs and the Hindus. It's never going to happen. But they go, no, this plan's amazing. They overextend themselves. They have much more faith in their own stupid ideology and the limits of their own power. And they think they can make it work. And it won't work. It definitely won't. And then it's obvious to anyone. So this problem cannot be fixed. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how you satisfy. How do you simultaneously satisfy 4B2s and Allen's lads when they're at each other's throats constantly? But once again, what I will say is, because I have picked a side. I've got a mild preference for one over the other. They're both alien to the UK, but I've picked a side. Is because I've never known one of the curly sideys boys go into a little girl's dance class and stab anyone, or blow up a bus or a train, or do anything like that, or 250,000 grooming gang victims. But the regulars at the snack bar are without doubt the most hateful individuals in the UK as a group. Way worse than the Hindus or the Sikhs or the Rastas or anybody else. They genuinely despise the 4B2s, and then they have a slightly lesser but still very intense hatred for everybody that doesn't follow their ridiculous the Book of Desert Fables. It's just a fact. They've been stupidly tribal for years. All these politicians, as we all know... Look, again, so I'll show you. I just went on X there just to see if there's any other good stories. First thing that pops up, Zara Sultana, right? Again, you know this is true. They are tribal to the point where not just that they hate the out group, but everybody who's a follower is in the in group. Zara Sultana has far more in common with Rashida Tlaib, foreign, or an Italian snack bar, or a French snack bar, or a Dutch snack bar, than her own countrymen. And you know this is true because of their faith, their all-consuming ideology. It's like communism. It's an all-consuming ideology. You know this is true. Anyone listening to this knows it's true. We have bonds with our countrymen. And then, you know, it goes out. We have a closer bond with an Anglo because we're related. We have a closer bond with an American or an Australian than we do with, like, an Italian. They're like this with their faith. So you can be born and raised in England, but your loyalty is to the global Hummer and the snack bar. And everybody knows it. And Zara Sultana infinitely prefers the company of a French snack bar follower, a Norwegian snack bar follower, and an Italian snack bar follower than her own countrymen and women. So because of this, they shouldn't allow them to be in positions of authority in the UK. I firmly believe that. They don't allow you to run for president if you're born abroad in America. And that's how it should be in the UK. The idea that Sunak and, well, all of them were foreign, weren't they? All the home counties, all the home nations, foreign leaders. Sunak, Varadkar, Humza useless, and a bloke in Wales who, frankly, isn't important enough to remember, but they're all foreign, so it shouldn't be allowed. They've got separate allegiance. And I think it's obvious to anyone who pays attention. Thanks, Starmer, for releasing this. That was embarrassing. He's just a gimp, isn't he? He is the worst Prime Minister in British history, by far. I can't think of anyone worse. The bloke is a fanatic. He's got no charm or charisma. And he needs a voice coach. Think of that. He needed coaching to sound like a dickhead. How can you get coached for that long and sound like such a knobhead? It's a really bizarre state of affairs. So I have no idea what's going on. This problem's never going away. So, I mean, to sum up, it's an interesting thing to talk about, the football issue, where we're kowtowing to the bullies, because it's basically, in a microcosm, the Europe-wide problem. And I'll sum up, because I've got a meeting at 11 o'clock I have to dial into for work. Basically, this story is a microcosm of the global problem, and specifically the Western problem, which is tribalism comes natural to humans, and thanks to the Enlightenment and great thinkers, we managed to make our tribe quite big. The British was a tribe, and the Europeans was a tribe, basically. Any one of us feels the same, which is how you know the truth behind my words, because we did. Any one of us has a much greater affinity with a Frenchman or a German. I mean, think of that. I'm sticking up for the French. Obviously, all the Anglos, the Aussies, the Kiwis, the Americans, the Canadians, the Brits, and they have an affinity for each other, and then slightly outside of that, they have an affinity for the Europeans, the Dutch and the Scandies, much more than we do the followers of the desert god in the Middle East. And we know this is true because we do it. Like, I'm man enough to admit I have an in-group preference, because to me, I'm a man who believes in science and evolution. These cult members of the woke cult, they're like a religion. They don't believe in science when it suits them. If it goes against their holy book, the Communist Manifesto, then they don't believe it, just like the devout creationists and the snack bar boys and the 4B2s. If you're very devout and you believe in your book, if it goes against your book, you ditch it. And the simple fact of the matter is, I'm like agnostic with a mild Christian upbringing, so I'm willing to look at the facts as they are. And the fact of the matter is, humans will always be a tribal creature, which is why even someone as middle of the road as me does have an affinity for my own tribe. So why do the people running the world try to convince us that people that are far more tribal, far more tribal, to the point where they'll kill you and think you're worthless and your children can be groomed and tortured and murdered because they don't share your faith? And that's what Jack Straw said. Jack Straw, wet, limp-wristed Jack Straw. In fact, shall I just look for a quick quote? If I just type in Jack Straw, don't share our values, it'll definitely pop up. Because that's what he said. He said they viewed them as being less than you, because they don't. Basically, they say, here it is, BBC. Jack Straw's comments on abuse are true. There it is. Jack Straw pointed this out. Wet lefty Jack Straw said, of course it's racially and religiously motivated. Of course it is. You'd have to be a lunatic to deny it. Because they believe that if you're in the out group, if you don't follow their faith, you're worthless. You're worthless. And they tell us that they're worthless. They go in the courts and say, white girls like you are to be used by men like me as trash because you're worthless. If Jack Straw says it, a lefty wanker like Jack Straw, and they tell us this on the steps of the courtrooms, how can anyone deny it? I know they lie endlessly, but it is as self-evident it's as plain as the nose on your face, right? So we concede that we know there's an out-group and an in-group, but they'll say, no, there definitely isn't. The 4B2s and Alan's lads and the Hindus and the Sikhs and the LGBTs and the big fat Barbados woman, they're all going to be best friends and they're going to love each other. Yeah, because out-group's just outdated right-wing thinking. It's not outdated thinking. It's science. It's evolutionary biology. If you think the very, 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 very devout snack bar regulars are going to start lubing up and daisy chaining around the gay disco with the Hindus, the Sikhs and the Buddhists, you're living in cloud cuckoo land. So, what's the solution? Well, the solution is mass deportations for millions and millions of people who should not be in Europe, tens of millions, and then going back to the basics, going back to the things that our forebears left for us, bequeathed to us, and we squandered, teaching them civics and civic nationalism, definitely. I don't want to promote ethnic nationalism. I don't think you need to. If you do what's required and you deport 20 million of the degenerate perverts and parasites that have moved to the UK in the last 25 years, and I think we can come back from the brink. But if we don't start doing it in the next couple of years, Europe's done. Europe's done. And when, as Christopher Hitchens correctly said years ago, the snack bar boys present themselves as a cringing, spineless, pathetic minority when they're in the minority. And they cower and they go, please, sir, please help us, sir, please. But then the second they get into the majority, out comes the kosh. And then you get the iron boot. They will be ruthless in the rooting out of their foes when they make up 51% of the population of Europe, because they love the in-group, out-group preference, no matter what Starmer tells you. They'll tell you quite happily, which is why it's funny they deny it. Their books tell you they have an in-group and out-group preference. The torturers and the abusers and the killers tell you. Every time there's an accident, there's an incident, they tell you that's what they're doing. They're killing infidels, not saying, they're not going pin the tail on the donkey or pin the machete in the person. They don't just put a blindfold on and go, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to stab the next 10 people who come down this street. No. They do what the pirate did. You come down the street, they go, are you a regular at the snack bar? And they go, yeah. And they go, peace to you, brother. Are you a regular at the snack bar? Yeah, peace to you, brother. Are you a regular at the snack bar? No, I'm an atheist. Stab. Infidel. And then the Prime Minister goes on telly and goes, oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is an outdated right-wing nonsense. Right-wing nonsense, they all love each other. They don't love each other. It's never going to work. Merkel admitted it was ludicrous in 2010. It's still ludicrous now. It's even more ludicrous now. We've got 25 years of evidence to look at. 1995 was 200 times less shit than 2025. The evidence is right there in black and white. You know it's true. I know it's true. The politicians know it's true, but they don't want to do what's required and pull the bandage off. Okay? If we don't sort it out, you're all cream crackered and your country's going to be a cesspit. Okay? Everything I've just said is true. Prove me wrong if you can. I dare you, left-wing fanatics. I'll argue with anyone about it. You know the crack. Send them my deets. I'll talk to some left-wing twat. I'll go on Jimmy the Giant dog shit podcast and tell him what's what, because he's got the IQ of 2 Weetabix. And yeah, let's just get it done. Get it done, deport them all, smash the criminal elements, sort your life out, or accept the fact that your grandkids are going to be chained to the sink in a burger, gobbling a 90-year-old man with an eye patch. Okay, that's the way it's going to go. Right, that'll have to do with boys and girls, because I've got an interview at 11 o'clock. The snack bar and other cultists are basically Roko's basilisk for the followers of the desert pet dwarf. That is a superb comment. Very, very insightful, Mr. Durpitz. Couldn't agree more. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I might do a stream tomorrow. I told me Mrs. would go out, but I don't know what's going on. Well, I'll play it by ear. I might see it tomorrow. If I don't, keep your chins up. You're all going to kick off eventually, and then we'll win. So, you know, silver lining around the cloud, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in. See you all soon. Have a fantastic weekend. Get pissed and enjoy yourselves as the world burns around you. All right, see you all soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.